Spring is in the air. After the wettest March on record, and the green shoots of economic recovery, are they beginning to show? I didn't write that, by the way.
Well, who better to discuss the economic weather than someone who left school early but built the mobile phone giant Phones Are You? Businessman John Caudwell joins us now. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, that isn't John. We're just waiting to... there you are, John. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. You know, we talk to politicians about the economy. They'll tell us what they want us to hear. We talk to economists. They have a very broad understanding of it. But you, as a businessman, bring a unique perspective to the situation at the moment. What's your assessment of where we are right now? Are we heading towards a deeper recession, or are we on the up?
Oh, gosh, you know, this is a complex question, really. I'll try and answer it briefly, but you can't do justice to that question briefly, because this all starts with the pandemic and Rishi putting too much money into the economy and causing problems without stimulating real job growth. And I launched at that time in March 2020 something that I called Caudwell Pandemic Recovery, to stimulate growth of the real economy by bringing in by incentivizing businesses from all around the world to come to the UK in a special enterprise zone dedicated to the environment, because that will be one of the biggest exports that there's going to be in the next 10, 20 years. So we really, really needed to do that, and we've done nothing. Now, all that money that went into people's pockets has then, post-pandemic, kept the economy buoyant, but it's all with government borrowing, and that has to come from somewhere. So where we are at the moment is a very, very natural downturn that's only slight at the moment. And I am actually amazed at the robustness of the UK economy, because it is only a slight downturn, but was inevitable. I thought it would be a lot more severe than it is, because as that money that's running out in people's pockets, which is also incidentally fueled inflation, as that runs out, then people are going to be spending less money and move us towards recession. But that really hasn't happened in line with my thinking.
What do you make of the size of the tax burden, though, John Caudwell? It's the highest tax burden in this country now since the Second World War. And we understand why taxes were so high after the war, but to rebuild Britain after 6 years of conflict.
Yeah, well, once again, a very complex question. But if you look at the major drivers of that, one is that we're nowhere near productive enough. Britain is a very unproductive society. You can only increase productivity by bringing on better, efficient means of producing things, or by working longer hours. That's not productivity per hour then, but it is productivity per person. So you either need to increase your hours or increase your efficiency, and we haven't done either of those things. In addition to that, then we've got a geriatric population, people who are way more people now who are past retirement age that we have to support. We've got a really improving health science, which enables people to live a lot longer. It enables illnesses to be treated whereas previously people would have died. And therefore, the burden on the health service is enormous. So, of course, then tax has to go up to keep up with that. But it's all to do with productivity. We get the productivity up, then the percentage tax that we pay can remain low. And that's where we're failing as a country.
John, you're a self-made man. You work really hard from being 18 years old. We've just seen that you're in Monaco, so congratulations. Lucky you. Wish we were in Monaco. You had a work ethic. We've got a whole generation now. We've got record numbers post-pandemic of employment-age individuals who are not in work. How do we get those people back to work? Because that's a fundamental problem. We've just heard about Mark Drayford in Wales trialling universal basic income in parts of the country, you know, the basic tenet of a communist socialist society. We've got to address that balance, haven't we, between the individual and the state?
Well, of course, it's if a person can survive on their pensions that they've earned during the lifetime, or any wealth that they've created during the lifetime, it is, of course, their right to retire, as long as they're not a burden on the state. But the retirement age is ridiculously low. And this is the issue of the geriatric population, because when I was a kid, the average life expectancy for a male in Britain was 68 years old. If you're born today, the average life expectancy now is about 90. that means in the future we'll be carrying 24 years of pensionable age, whereas I only expected to live for 2 years past my pensionable age. So we have to address that as well. You know, there's a lot of great people out there that are in the 65 plus, 70 plus, who are who could do a great job, but they're encouraged to retire by society, and we need to change that. And so maybe for healthy people, the state pension, well, I think definitely the state pension needs to be at an older age. We need to keep people working longer. That wouldn't be popular, of course, but we have to do something to get the balance of how many working people there are in the population and the number of people that we have to support into retirement.
John, can I push you on what Bev talked about there, the universal basic income? Because what the Welsh Government, the Labour Government, is proposing is giving young asylum seekers in Wales £1,600 a month, plus they'll also get legal aid to help them fight deportation. Is that an appropriate use of public money? They don't have to do anything for the money, by the way, at all. No work at all.
No, but this is politicians again, isn't it, Andrew? This is what they do. You know, they look for vote catching. Now, I'm fully supportive of asylum seekers in going through the correct channels, and I do think Britain has to take a proper and fair share of asylum seekers because that's the only humanitarian way to be. But also we do need to control immigration correctly. That money could have been used to try and stimulate those asylum seekers to find some useful job in Britain, and for them not to be asylum seekers fighting the government, but actually be patriated into Britain and put to useful work so that they're contributing to British society instead of being a drain on it.
I want to ask you about, as you built up Phones for You, mobile phone company, about this emergency alert that we're going to get on the 23rd of April. Is that this Sunday? No, I've lost. Yes, it is this Sunday. Where's the time going? 3 o'clock this Sunday. Mobile phones are all going to beep from the government telling us, be frightened, there may be imminent death nearby. Do you support this as somebody who's generated a huge amount of mobile phone sales over the years?
Well, I don't think my millions of mobile phones sales actually qualifies me to be any more knowledgeable on this than anybody else, because it's just a pure potential facility to save people's lives. Now, there are arguments against it, of course, because it's going to alert people to somebody's secret phone, and that secret phone might be there because of abuse or difficulties. So there are risks and challenges within that, but I think ultimately the statistics must speak for themselves. It's already been trialled in different countries around the world, and if it is genuinely saving lives and saving more lives than it jeopardizes, then it's a positive thing. And I believe people will be able to turn this alert off and turn the notification off, but of course that requires knowledge of how to do it. So I think we have to move forward in society to find ways of helping people, saving people's lives, saving them from catastrophic situations. But I remain to be convinced whether this is a particularly good idea and whether it will work.
Can I ask you this, John? We had on the programme last week somebody campaigning for mobile phones to be outlawed unless somebody is 16 or over. What age do you think is appropriate for someone to own their mobile phone?
Oh, gosh, I mean, you know, the trouble is that screen time for young children is very damaging to the young brain, especially 2, 3 and 4 year olds. So screen time, whether it's mobile phones or computer screens or television, should be limited, whatever the age. And I think after that, it's down to the parent. But of course, there is a safety aspect to a child having a mobile phone. So I think probably 10, 11 is a reasonable age. I think it's ridiculous to outlaw before 16, because we want our children to have mobile phones for security reasons as much as any other. And then, you know, there's a lot of intelligence and information that comes from mobile phones. All of us use them to research things that we don't know anything about, to widen our knowledge. So I don't think you can turn the clock back, but I don't also advocate kids, young or even teenagers, having too much screen time.
Very interesting coming from you. If I could ask you just one final question. I know you took in a family of Ukrainian refugees some time ago. I don't know if they're still with you and how things are, if they are.
They are with us, and they're in a lovely environment, and I think she's as happy as she can be. But she's living with her son in the grounds of my estate, and of course terrified for her country, her relatives, and her husband especially, who is in the forces. So, you know, it's really, really difficult, and she has regularly broken down in tears, I think, as you would, because she's terrified for everything that's going on. But she's got the best life that she can have under the circumstances. And so many people have done this around the UK, taking refugees. And I think it's a wonderful characteristic of the British people.
Very good. I'm glad she's happy as possible to be, John. Thanks for that. That's John Caudwell, the businessman. Lots of people, he's right, lots of people, Bev, we shouldn't forget, have taken in refugees, and they're still there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they could be there for a long, long time, because that war's showing no sign of abating. Fascinating about John Caudwell, about when kids should have a phone.